Yo, welcome to another episode of the BJJ GOONS podcast. I am your host, Tim, aka the Mushmaster, aka Grips of the North Star, aka Jits Bay, aka Mr. I Heel Hook White Belts in the Gi because I train for the streets, aka King of the BJJ Deathmatch, aka the Trainwreck God, aka a Trillmonger, aka the Best Match Machine, aka Fuck Your Rankings. I want all the smoke. AKA the Elker Strangler, AKA the Underground King, AKA Blast Double Poppy, AKA Musha T, and my co-host as always is...
Hey everybody, it's Nico Ball, just no new Nico, Favela Jiu Jitsu, and maybe AKA the Crossface Killer. And unfortunately, like this weekend, I sent the last week's episode to my dad. Like the first time, I spent all this time trying to come up with this AKA the Crossface Killer. My dad listens to that podcast and he's like, baby, like, why y'all got all them AKs? Like, what's the point of that? And I was like, I spent so much time. I was like, I don't know why Tim has his AKs, but mine is like a fair warning, I feel like. And today we're here with like the people that, or the person, there's two guests with us today if you're not like watching the video. One of them is where I learned the crossface from, who I spent hours and hours drilling this thing. And I don't know if he realized it, but I hated it so much. But apparently I got really good at it. So today we're here with Isaac Rehner and Ben Jammin. I don't know if anybody actually knows Ben's legal name. I'll leave that up to him to tell him. We always call him Ben Jammin. They ran a gym called High Style Jiu Jitsu in DC. So you guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, what's up? I'm Isaac. So yeah, we're High Style Jiu Jitsu. I didn't realize that I taught you that crossface. I thought that maybe you picked it up somewhere and then you brought it back to me because that crossface is pretty serious at this point. But yeah, no, we run a club, High Style Jiu Jitsu. I'm Isaac. I'm the black belt here, and we just kind of hang out in Northwest DC and we do Jiu Jitsu. Right now, it's more of a club, less of like an academy feel, just because of the time. But we've been having a good time, and as always, I'm hanging out with my man Ben Jammin, who doesn't have a legal name because he don't. Yeah, that's it.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, and you know, that's who I am. And like he said, we're a High Style Jiu Jitsu club these days. I'd say, you know, what we are about is just a lifestyle, which is not centered around the business, not centered around starting an academy, not centered around signing up new members. You know, we're just about training, and we get it in when we can. And yeah.
That's pretty much
We're
it.
really happy also to be here, talk to you guys, man. Like, we watch your episodes, love all the stuff you guys have been talking about over the past few episodes, you know, especially with everything going on. You know, it's crazy times. So it's great to have like people, you know, in the jiu-jitsu world who are, you know, analyzing these topics and speaking freely and, you know, expressing, you know, their ideas. It's great. So
Yeah, for sure.
thanks for having us.
Definitely, like I've known Nico a long time. You know, I've been a long time admirer of Tim Spriggs. You know, it's really awesome to sit here and talk to you. I remember one time when you first got your black belt, I said congratulations to you, and that was cool, man. You said thank you. You were super gracious about it. It was awesome, and that was really the only conversation we've ever had. To be honest with you.
I do have a Tim Spriggs story too. Because you announced my match at Fight to Win, and that was pretty tight too. He was like, you know, like with like said something about, but he said something about like, you know, I like how these competitors, these people who like go right back to what they want to do, you know, and they keep step by step, they do the same thing. They go back to the same position, they work on it. And I was like, you know what, that's what I was trying to do. You know, I was working with the worm and I was going step by step. If I went a step back, I was trying to, you know, just keep moving and stick to the game plan. So I appreciated that, you know. So
No problem, bro. I want to do more of that commentating stuff, but you know, it's probably gonna be a while.
It takes a certain art. Most people suck at it. I think you're really good at it. You know what I mean? Not just because you're here in front of me, but because legit, like I do like your style. Some people, it's awkward. Like you expect them to be better at commentating, and then they get on there, you're like, yo, like what's going on with this guy? You know what I mean? I wish I could step in, but maybe that's just me thinking I'm better at stuff than people. You know what I mean? But I would love to try to commentate something. That's like that would be amazing. It'd be amazing. Let me know.
You would be good at it. Both of you would be good at it. And I'm going to bring that up later with one of the questions that we have for you.
Oh, wait. No, I know. But we did a free turn one time. Did you get to commentate? We did a live feed. Did you get to commentate on that, Negro?
Oh, I did. And that's how I know that I'm really bad at it. I went out there and I tried. Yeah, it's hard to come up with the stuff like on the spot. And, you know, it is really.
What are you talking about? You're doing it right now. You're good to go. Man, I went back and listened to portions of it. I would say that you did a really good job.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
Actually, you're a very good conveyor of a lot of messages. As a matter of fact, one little Nico story was she takes a lot of pictures, you know, and then she just loads them all to the internet, like just all these pictures on the internet, right? And when you look at it, I was like, oh, you didn't been tagged in these pictures. So I had a match, you know, and I lost, which is pretty typical, you know, for me. But anyway, the point of the story is I got stacked, and my pants came undone, and the person turned me around to face everybody I knew, and my butt was like, just everything was right there. Everyone shielded their eyes, except Nico's lens got it. And then she put it up on the internet and hit her up in the middle of the night. I was like, Nico, why is my butthole on the internet? Please take it down. She's like, hold on a second, I gotta find it. Like, come on, man. I'm looking right at it. I can't see it.
I wish it had been you. It was not you that told me. You know, after a whole day of being in there, it was your girlfriend that told me. She came into the gym and she was like, Nico, why is my man's ass on the internet? And I was like, what? Because I had seen the picture and I swear, I had deleted it. So when she said it, I knew exactly what she was talking about. And I was like,
I've seen a lot of pictures of Tim on the internet. They're all fantastic. Do you know what I mean? They're all very true to form. I can't wait to see more Tim's pictures. You know what I mean? But so far, like, my lineup's not looking so hot. You know, it's got straight up the deep end. It is what it is.
Hey, but anyways, I also got to edit the video of when you got your black belt, which was, I wasn't there. Whoever filmed it did like a crappy sound job, so I had to put like subtitles on it. But that was really awesome. And how long ago was it that you got your black belt?
Coming up on 3 years, honestly, it's been pretty cool being a black belt. I'm sure Tim can talk about how cool it is to be a black belt. It is awesome. So yeah, coming up on 3 years in November, pretty well. Yep.
That's dope. See how I transitioned off the hate towards me, and I'm just gonna keep going right into these questions. So like it was
go for it too.
Masterful job.
All right, so like it was about like right after you got your black belt about that you decided to open the gym. Like when did you guys start to open the gym? And can you like explain what the gym is? So is it High Style? Do you guys like produce clothes? Is that what you're doing? You kind of like low-key didn't mention what you actually do.
Okay, well, so as far as the direction so yeah, I mean, I think that for getting a black belt in jiu-jitsu is like it's a big goal. So for me, like once I did it, I was like, all right, you know, in a lot of ways, for better or worse, I think I was just ready to kind of do something else. My intent was just to keep training, you know, out of necessity, because you get used to training a little bit, and then so, you know, you kind of want to do it more on your terms or with certain people. So it's always been more of a club feel up here. It's just like people we know, very tight circle, and I try to keep that, like, you know, for better or for worse. We really love to have visitors, but like now is not really the time, I'm afraid. But it's also good to have those people to run back to, so you can still train a little bit, work on stuff, you know, because we agreed from the beginning it would just be us, you know, and that's just what it is. And everybody's doing that to some extent. Everyone's not, you know, everyone's not training. And we don't train quite often. No big deal. How about you guys? Tim? Nah, I shouldn't have Tim in this training. I want to know if he's training. I guess you can edit it out. I mean, of course you're training. Right? What's up?
I mean, well, my thing is, I've been training, but only with a handful of people that I trust. And I train with people that I know for the most part, or the best of my knowledge, aren't going to the beach or partying or eating out. Like, they're guys that are training for UFC fights. They're training for super fights in jiu-jitsu. Their life is training, as opposed to other people I see that I might train with or are around people that are, I see them on Facebook and Instagram on the beach, you know, or like they're going out places or they're around people. And it's like, if I'm going to come back or I'm going to train sporadically just to get my feet wet, I'm going to go with people that I trust and a small group of people. And I kind of think that's going to be the future of training. Because when I was thinking, like, I was watching the Bruce Lee movie. I don't remember which one, where it was the Japanese guys came and were like beating them up. But like, you know how they have like the Shaolin Temple, or like they have like a fighter's commune. There's like a small group of people that come together and train. That might end up being how things are for a while. So I have to adapt.
Honestly, I think it's like if it's really good for jiu-jitsu and a lot, or like just martial arts in general. You know what I mean? Like to go through these hard times and like see what comes out on the other side. Like for the way that people were kind of engaging in it before, it's like kind of a hard stop. So it's interesting to see how people adapt. Kind of like what you're saying. Like you got to kind of work your way around it and figure out who you are and like what your goals are, like, and what the opportunities are, if there are any anymore. Like, what are you in this for exactly, you know?
And also just to kind of go off of like, everyone always likes to talk about the responsibilities of training full time, or, you know, and not to say that we're high level, you know, we're not training for a UFC fight or anything, but I like to think that our life centers around our training. You wouldn't
train with us, but you could.
Well, our life centers around our training. And I think that's really the defining factor of the people that I think are being responsible and able enough to train in a small group. And everybody always likes to talk about all the responsibilities that come with that type of lifestyle of training so much: the diet, the sleep, the rest, and you know, just taking care of yourself to a certain degree. It takes a certain type of discipline. I think now it takes even more to a certain sense, in a certain way, also because a lot of other noise is kind of out of the picture now, you know, like a lot of the real business side of jiu-jitsu. And I think that some culture that might kind of do more damage than good in the community, I think has now been shed to a certain degree, with us just required to train in small groups. I think it really makes it more of a necessity for the people. So like you're saying, the people you train with are not people who are going out doing things they want to do, because we all want to go to restaurants, we all want to go to the beach, we all want to. So training isn't something that we want to do. Training is something we need to do, you know, because it's about our mental health, it's about who we are. And so that's the defining factor now with the people who are able to train and who we feel are able to train with us, you know, because it has to stay small. I mean, you have to be responsible.
I think for a lot of people, kind of what you're saying is like, for some people, you know, like especially with a place like this that can be casual, it's hard to get up here to train. But once you're here, you can kind of come and go. We got a lot of characters. Everywhere's got a lot of characters, so it's no different. But you know, it's been good for the few people that we do train with, you know, like to be able to kind of call that consistency on and make them feel like they have more of a stake in here. So now it's not like, hey, like when are you coming? It's like, no, you come these days. And you know, it's really good for people's individual growth, but maybe not for like the spreading of jiu-jitsu.
And just also as
just out of control though.
To give you another example,
jiu-jitsu. Drake's baby mama does jiu-jitsu.
Exactly, you know, and that's the noise that I'm talking about. You know, maybe you know, like it might be a little confusing how I'm trying to explain things, but just to give you another example, you know, like the way that we're training in these small groups, it makes the training about the training and less about anyone coming in here paying a tuition and just expecting to be taught. And you know, so
clear, you can't charge anybody if you're just like training, you know what I mean?
We're just training. We're all training partners. So what that does is it brings us, everybody likes to say when we get on the mat, we're all equal, everybody, blah, blah, blah. You know, now we are all equal, you know, because now we come in and it's just training. It's not a class. We're not, you know.
I still come up with a practice though.
Yeah, of course. Like we gotta, you have to respect experience, you know, that's what it's about. And that's what, you know, I think as a group, it's about being a part of a collective, part of, you know, an organism, you know. So we have our resource as a black belt here to help us, guide us, you know. That's nothing, there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make him a god, you know what I'm saying? But we all make each other better, and we take advantage of the time because we don't take it for granted, because we know this is something that we need, you know. It's not something that we want to do, you know, otherwise we wouldn't be doing it, because it's just, it's not the time for that kind of stuff. You know, so when people hit us up like, oh, when are classes starting again? When is this? You know, like sometimes, you know, it's not about when classes are starting, because we're not trying to get back. It's not time to get back to normal.
Well,
like, it's not time to get back to this
I feel like sometimes
normal
people
life.
ask you questions, but they're not really asking you what asking you. It's kind of like, as far as like training goes, like it's like a consistent thing in people's lives. So people want to know that you're doing it, and they want to know how they can somehow get in on it because they want to know that things are normal. It sounds like a little weird, but like, I don't know, like you just can't, right now is not a good time to be with people. And, you know, I think it's cool that there's a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions right now. I actually don't have any problem with that. Shit, I got nothing else to watch. I watch a lot more jiu-jitsu now than I did before because there's nothing else to watch. And UFC. I'm watching UFC every weekend. Oh, yeah.
Would you be willing to go out and compete?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as time goes on, yeah, but then you see some of these other guys getting sick, and then I think to myself, how does that affect?
Not a tournament.
Now? Like, that's crazy.
Super fight's one thing. A tournament is a little. That's. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
how about you? Now, you guys aren't thinking about competing at this time.
No.
We talked about this last week. Absolutely not. Not for me.
Right.
No, I don't think it's worth it because it's not like I'm getting a UFC check to do a grappling match.
No.
And if you're going to do a grappling match, you have to be in camp. You need a whole camp to really prepare for a super fight. If you're going to, it doesn't matter what belt you are. Right. And unless you have a setup in which it's hard enough going against, from my perspective, it's hard enough going against guys that are roided up, training year round, and like they just have it all in-house.
Right.
Like, where I'm at, it's not set up like that. The people around here, like I'm a regular dude. Like I'm just your normal, average, everyday guy. I just do jiu-jitsu professionally. These guys, they're like professionals as in like they're soldiers of fortune. They just get brought in. Their whole job is to just do jiu-jitsu. That's all they know. That's all they're destined to do. And they don't have to balance the same things that someone like me would have to balance.
No, at all.
And they don't have the mindset of like, if I get sick, it's not like they're going to be paying my hospital bills because it'll be a thing of, well, you can't prove I got sick here at such and such, you know, or at this tournament. So I'm not going to put myself at risk or I put someone else at risk, and I can wait.
Yeah, for sure. Especially for your goals and your stuff like that. Like, you know, like definitely I've had a lot of exposure to like people that were like that, definitely like more early on. And I can say like having our own little spot, for example, like not having to deal with that culture is really fantastic. Like it seems like something that you have to deal with. Like you have to really take head on because like that's just like what you're up against. You're like, we're fortunate enough to like really focus more around learning for better or worse. But you know, that's like what we enjoy doing, and that's kind of why we train, you know, a couple times a day. We try to do what we can do in the time, and I'm really thankful that I don't have to worry about those guys. But as far as like going and competing against other people that are sort of just like kind of, you know, I don't really see a problem with it. But from your perspective, I completely understand. It's a completely different thing. You know, 100%.
Yeah. That's one thing I was going to ask you is like you described the gym as more like a club, and it's like, do you guys focus on competition or is it more like a hobby? Like what are your goals in that respect?
Well, I mean, I think that like, you know, we always want to come in and work hard and try to get better. And that's like really an ambiguous thing. You know, that's why we focus a lot on positions and play a lot of, we don't do a lot of open sparring. We do a lot of positional sparring for better or worse. We try to like understand things. So, you know, it makes sense when it's happening, you know, because you can't really think about it when you need it. So I think that, you know, our focus, just like any place, has to shift around a little bit just to fill the needs. But we work for, here's a good example of what Jammin was saying earlier about the way we train. Like for me, it's nice because like at some point, I don't have to say anything anymore. We're just in there. We got 2 hours worth of drills. We know what we're doing. Sometimes there's like little stuff we got to work on. We're going to work on something for at least 6 weeks. I think these are all just kind of good general practices that everyone should have. It's like if your training doesn't pick up where you left off the day before, then like every day's going to be your first day, and then what? You know, and that's no good. And then you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, and you're not. And then you're like, I want to quit. For me, like I go to training, I get frustrated like everybody, but like I always want to come back to do more because somebody really interests me, and I really want to focus on that so I can stay on that and hopefully get more people like legitimately interested in jiu-jitsu, not like shish kumbaya, like interested in jiu-jitsu. You know how it is.
Yeah, and you know, also just as far to go back to the club, it's like, you know, we have to, it's not about growing our numbers right now. You know, that's not what it's about. Again, it's just like we have this small group of people, and you know, these turn out to be really the only people that we see, because who else, who socializes with anybody these days? Like you're saying, we're not going out. None of us here are going out. Like none of us are doing anything. Most of us are kind of weird at the end of the day, which is somewhat like loners and like, you know,
I told him not to say that we were
introverts.
And so,
yeah, so
say it's like, Jammin, don't tell them that we're weird. You know what I mean?
But,
they'll pick up on it like eventually.
You know, so
that's out the bag, man.
it's a club in the sense that, you know, that yeah, we kind of all have a certain responsibility now. It's not just about, you know, coming and just learning from a certain person. You know, it's like coming and, you know, if you notice there's no toilet paper, you bring some toilet paper. You know, you stock up on hand sanitizer. Lately, it's been sparkling water, you know? So it's kind of like, it's nice to have like this small group of people, and we know that we're thinking about each other, you know? Because like one day somebody will pick some sparkling water up, the next day somebody will see the fridge is empty, and then they'll show up one day with a bunch of sparkling water or a bunch of paper towels or a bunch of soap or hand sanitizer. And it's
because
just
there's no air conditioning.
Well,
on the mats. So that sparkling water means a lot after training.
Yeah,
no, I don't want to train in the air conditioning. That's not fun.
No,
I mean, it's not fun to train in the heat either. What do you like, hot or cold? Some people like cold.
No, I started
like
jiu-jitsu in
training in
Brazil.
the cold.
Cold?
I'm totally against training in the cold.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
As warm-blooded mammals, I don't think we're supposed to be really doing that kind of stuff in the cold. At least in sport where we only wear gis or no gi stuff. They give it from a purely Darwinistic perspective. If we were out in the cold, we'd have like layers, and then we'd be running in chasing shit, not in a rash guard or shorts.
Mm-mm.
That's a good point. I would hope not in a rash guard and shorts. I mean, maybe some people nowadays might. They go everywhere in rash guards and shorts now. In flocks, it's intense. You know what I mean?
That's swagless. I do not endorse that. The BJJ goons do not endorse wearing rash guards out in public.
Yeah, we could talk about that too, and how wearing matching spats and rash guard matching combinations.
Wait, who just did that? Who just did that and fought?
Probably a sicko that should be arrested. If you wear a rash guard out in public, you're a sicko.
No, just in a fight.
In which case, it's okay. It's a balance. It's a balance. You know? But jiu-jitsu definitely changing, you know what I mean? Like we do a lot of different projects, and we're just trying to figure out how to keep them going. I think that's kind of what everyone's doing, right? Like, you know, everybody's got to figure out like how things are going to change, and then also like, or some people are like holding out for things to go back to the same thing before, but I don't think jiu-jitsu is ever going to be the same, at least not for the average person on the street. Like, it's going to be hard to just pull someone over and be like, yo, like, you want to like get on top of this person or get under them or something. It's going to be a harder sell, but I contend that that's a good thing. I think too many people are getting into jiu-jitsu, and not everybody has to have a school. You know, I'm on the fence. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a long time, just like you guys have. And, you know, it's arguable whether or not we should have a school. I do know, however, that at the end of the day, I would love to have a kick-ass club and have like a cool vibe. So it's better to like fast forward to that and then like build from what you already enjoy than be like, yo, I'm gonna start the next big thing and like, you know, something. I don't know if that's really like what.
Yeah, like there's like wrestling clubs, they're onto something. You know what I'm saying? Because they all get together to do what? Nothing else but wrestle. And they're all again.
Been to a wrestling club?
Well, you know, I don't have too much experience being a wrestling club.
Tim, you ever been to a wrestling club?
My experience was that the wrestling club came to the gym, and a lot of those wrestling clubs are for youth wrestlers or guys that are in college, not adults. I think the difference with jiu-jitsu, and which is good, it kind of reminds me of skateboarding, in that with jiu-jitsu, it's one of those things that you can do at any age and that anyone can do. Doesn't matter how athletic you are. So I liken it to skateboarding. And when you guys are talking about like the vibe of your gym, it's kind of like a skateboarding mentality in that, like, I just see the parallels. Because like you guys, there's like the jock aspect like there is in skateboarding, but there's also the aspect of the artist and like, you know, freedom.
Yeah, I think that's that encapsulates it pretty good, and also the lenient 420 laws in DC allow us to do a lot of stuff we like to do up here. So, you know, it's an open environment. You know what I mean? It's for adults. You know, you guys are in jiu-jitsu, so we incessantly deal with youth, and you know that can be a good thing. I love kids. I have a great rapport with kids At least I like to believe I do. But in my own personal time, in my own like stuff that I like to do, I don't really want to hang out with kids. So like just to have my own spot where it's just for adults, you know, you can do kind of what you want to hear as long as you're respectful, and you know, you can, as long as you don't really talk too much during practice and you actually work hard on the mat. And I think that that's really all you really can ask for, really, in any gym. Like, you want people to come in and know when it's time to do what, you know? You can do just about anything you want. You can paint on the walls, you know? Like I said, it's clean, but you can paint on the walls. But when it's time to hit the mat, like, you gotta do the practice. Otherwise, you know, it just doesn't work for everybody, you know?
Yeah, and with the skate community too, you know, like I always like to draw that some like parallels with the skate community as well, just because you know, like I've spent a lot of time in Cuba with a bunch of skaters. Like I just roam the streets with skaters. I don't even skate, so it kind of sucks when they like hit the streets and then I gotta like, you know, catch up with them on the bus like or something like that, like 30 minutes later. But you know, like they're always like they're so, you know, they're always looking out for each other. You know, if somebody hits a trick, it's like they don't miss it. Like everybody gives everyone their props. You know what I'm saying? Like, and another thing that I really like to like relate skating to jiu-jitsu about is kind of like how your style and like your personality and like the way you express yourself really comes out in that art, you know, and skating is an art, you know, same as jiu-jitsu is an art, you know. And I think, you know, I think you guys have gotten to the point, obviously, you know, you watch people do jiu-jitsu and they roll and you almost, it's like you kind of get to know them in a way. You know, you don't have to have a conversation with somebody. So you watch a 10-minute match with them and you kind of know, you get a little bit of an idea. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, I think, I don't know anything about skating, but when I see someone who knows how to skate, they look really comfortable with themselves, like in that, you know, what they're doing. I think that like, whether it works out where they fall down or not, you can kind of tell if somebody like has their wits about them. Same with jiu-jitsu. Like you see someone start to move, you're like, this guy's either going to be good or he might suck. You know what I mean? But usually you make up your mind right away. You know, when you see it, you're like, oh man, as soon as they start grappling, you're like, man, I either do or don't want to watch any more of this.
Mm-hmm. That's very
Pretty
true.
fast.
What you say about style is like, what?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
I was like, what you say about style is like very true because, and I was gonna tell Tim, it's like I need to get some videos of Ben because there's some very annoying things to his style that he does that be keeping me from getting my crossface that I need to fix. So I was like, I'm gonna get some video for that mind map, and then just watch out, you know. But like you guys talk very laid back as if it's just a club and very laid back. But I just want to point out like the fact that like when you guys do drill and you kind of breezed over this and you're like, you know, just coming to class and drilling and you're not really talking, and that should just be, or maybe not even just not talking, but like getting in repetition, that should just be kind of fundamental. I feel like that's one thing that I don't see at a lot of gyms because like most people like just learn a technique and they'll learn it one day and they'll drill it a couple times and then they'll move on to something else. But what you guys actually do is like an hour of no-gi drilling on a time and there's no break in between. And then there's an hour of gi drilling on time and there's like no really break in between the drilling. Like, so it's like constant movement. It's like not like any partners are gonna about to sit and talk or like pick up their phone. Like you do actually like you're laid back, but when you do guys get on the mats, you are very meticulous in what you guys do. And you also have a very like unique style as in you're constantly trying to do crazy stuff like teach all the white belts that, you know, like worm guard or calf slicers or all these crazy entrances. And like all the times they're like 20 different calf slicers trying to say, oh, it's same entrance. Like, but you guys like really insist on it. And I've seen like the evolution of your students and like they do complain, but like they do get it and it has been working. So, you know, like one thing I wanted to ask is like, who do you guys like really look up to in the sport, or like what inspired you to like choose like these things that you focus on, or is it just your own unique preference?
Oh,
I like that question.
I'll say one. I would say one thing that I do like about training here is that like there's so much going on in jiu-jitsu. Like, you know, I haven't been training for a super long time. I just went over like 10 years of training, you know, which has been cool, but it just doesn't even resemble the same thing anymore. You know, some people keep it like a certain way. There's just so many different rule sets. People just approach the game a lot of different ways. And everybody wants to learn all these new techniques, but very few people get the time to really like dissect them and learn them. And it takes a long time. So it's really great to stay current with what's going on with jiu-jitsu. And from the aspect of the learner, like it keeps you engaged because you see these things happen, and then we're working on them here, so we can sort of like stay with what's going on the mat, and that way you feel like you're more part of like the current part of it. If not, like as much as I love working on fundamentals, like how often?
Who do you look up to? That's what she.
No, that was part of her question. I was just saying.
Ben wants to know. Ben wants to get straight to the point.
I'm just like the question. She asked who do you look up to in the sport?
Oh, yeah.
Who do we like stylistically? Because we were talking about style. That's what the question was.
I mean,
I'll go with it if you want to take a second to think about it, because I can go down the list of people that we always talk about that we I mean, I would say for one, first name that comes to mind is Andres. We love Andres's lapel game, his passing. He's funky, like he competes in a style in a way that, it seems as though he's really trying to compete in his way and have fun with it, as opposed to completely focusing on, doing something a certain way and, staying conservative, like he goes with the flow. I like that. We like people who kind of compete in that way, I would say, like, personally.
Shit, I just like him go for omoplatas all the time. I just gotta stick omoplatas.
Eduardo Tellez is another one with his turtle guard, because he competes in point tournaments and never scores points. And he still won no-gi worlds before. Like, that's crazy, because he just turtles, and then how is he gonna score? He can't sweep you, he can't do anything, and somehow he comes up and he'll like tap you out with something from side control, like, or something like that, or like, and he just has an impossible guard to pass, so it's really fascinating.
You can't pass turtle guard for points. Talk about sometimes. If you go to turtle, there's no guard to pass. You give up the advantage, right? And then what? You just have to defend the back take at that point. Like if you end up in side control, there's no points. You just gave up the advantage, right? Isn't that the strategy there?
When I went to the rules meeting, they changed it around a bit, I think, but fundamentally, from when it first started, the turtle guard, you couldn't score from there unless somebody took your back.
It's an interesting one for sure. I really like Barrett Yoshida for sure. I like a lot of anyone who plays the crucifix. A lot of people that play the crucifix different ways. I really like to watch them. I don't really watch as much jiu-jitsu as Jammin does. Like everyone's got a different tolerance for it. Like I bet you probably watch more things that are relevant to you. What that is, I wouldn't even begin to know. I see Nico watching certain things. She used to really like watch a lot of like passing drills back in the day, like long step passes.
I like to watch like the Rafael Mendez passing highlight. Like I watch that like crack, just over.
I love highlights, bro. Like so good. My ADD nature, they're so.
Also, kind of just to go off of like what he was saying, like as far as like how the evolution of a competitor, and the people I think that we look up to are like the people also who are able to evolve. Like like, so for me, I always go back to the Meow brothers, just because like, man, now they're basically passers. And like for me, honestly, I feel as though in my game and like where I've been improving the most and been focusing on improving the most has been my top game, because I've always been a guard player. So, it's helped me a lot to see some of these people who play guard throughout their career now kind of finding passing as well in this new style, this new age of jiu-jitsu, and seeing like what works against the guards and the lapel guards that people are playing. A lot of people single leg X and in the gi, no gi passing. It's fascinating.
But this is why I love playing games so much more. At first, when we started just playing lots of games, I really hated it because I hate losing, and I don't know. It's just hard. Some people are just better at games than others. I'm like a slow starter. Like I suck at games. Like you know what I mean? Like I lose a lot of games, but it's a lot of fun. Like the single leg X position you're talking about. I've always just avoided it, but we spent a lot of time doing it, and now I've come away with like my own understanding of it. I really appreciate the time I spent there, because now I'm like, I feel good in it on top, whatever. Like, it's not that I won't get caught out of there, I don't get swept, but I'm like dumbfounded when something happens. Like, what the hell is happening? I hate that feeling. Like, that's what I want to get rid of in my jiu-jitsu. That's sort of shitty because you're still gonna you're gonna lose a lot, but at the end of the day, it should be no mystery why it happened. Like I always hate feeling like I don't know what's going on.
And that's why you just got to move around, like you can't be so conservative, whether it's in competition or training, or especially when it's in the room. Like that's the last place to be just, you know, doing one thing over and over again, you know, because otherwise you're going to go through the competition and get in those situations where you don't know what the hell's going on, and then it actually matters, you know. So I think the reason why it's good to go for it in competition is because you get to express your style, and you know that's worth something. Another thing is the lessons you learn in competition also hold a lot of weight, you know. So the mistakes you make in competition really stick with you, you know. So, you know, I just think overall for me, the way I look at it is, you know, those are going back to the, you know, just talking about people we look up to. It's like that's kind of the thing, you know. Even, you know, Tim Spriggs, like, yo, like, you know, when you watch some of the ADCC matches and some of the stuff you do, it's fight to win, like you can't help but notice when I found out that you were like a theater student or acting, you know, like it made so much sense, because I was like, man, like this is exactly how you compete, you know what I mean? Like you're on stage, like this is your zone, you know what I mean? Like it's awesome. So like that's what we like, that's what we vibe with when we watch.
I could use a couple of like tough guy acting lessons and you hug it out. It's like a few, like, you know, like act hard, whatever that movie was. We're like, I don't know. But yeah, I can use that.
Kevin Hart, where he's going to jail.
Yeah, Will Ferrell's going to jail and he gets
Will Ferrell.
Get hard.
Oh yeah. Get hard. Is that for competition?
Yeah, man, you know what I mean? Like I want to feel all chuffed and stuff. I mean, I don't know. Everybody deals with competition differently. I think for us, we like to try the moves we're working on, you know, but I also see the value, like for people that are really focused on a certain goal, like you kind of have to interact with it a certain way. But, you know, you can look at that as the right way to do it, or it's not, you know, it's not necessarily wrong. Like, you know, for us, like I just like to see the proof in the pudding. I get very worried and nervous about competing. It's always been a big problem for me, you know, so for me, it's easier to say like, hey man, like I'm gonna go out there and like I'm gonna get the entry that I wanted. I'm gonna get the position I wanted. I'm gonna try for my thing. If it doesn't work, like hey, you know, that was what's gonna happen anyway. But yeah, that works for me, and it gets me out there more than not. So whatever gets me out there more is better than not. So.
All right. So I have one more question about competition before we try to like switch up the topics and talk a little bit about the social work that you guys have been doing on top of the Jiu-Jitsu club. So like, I've heard rumors that since, you know, 2020 is canceled and jiu-jitsu isn't going back to, you know, like normal competitions in general, that y'all was trying to have some like underground super fights in the DC, Baltimore, Maryland, Virginia area. Is this true?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I think everybody talks about having something. Like whether or not we're doing it is different. I would love to have super fights in DC. There's a huge lack of grappling in DC for a lot of reasons. I mean, even the DC Open is technically in Maryland, right?
PG.
That's Niceville, right?
It's a PG, yeah.
It's a PG. I mean, it's cool. I'm a PG dude. Like, I'm cool with that. Actually, as a matter of fact, that's tight for me. But it would be cool if there was more actual grappling in DC. And on top of that, kind of more on like a city vibe kind of tip. So I would love to have some. We definitely have made some plans. We've made some plottings. We've actually contacted people. We've gotten pretty far down the planning process, but nothing has come to fruition yet. So
yeah, I mean, it would obviously be very, you know, like it would just be about the matches.
Maybe Tim get a match on there.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm putting it out there. I was like, well, let me just put that out there to slide into those DMs for those people that are quarantining camping, willing to fight.
You know what I mean? So we can pay this man a bunch of money. He's about it. Like, man, we got a bunch of money for Tim to do a match. He's like, he's nodding his head. We don't have a ton of money for a match, but if we did, we would love to give it to you. That'd be great.
So we'll get some sponsors can slide into the DM, competitors can slide into the DMs.
Oh yeah, look, if you ever want to hit us up, you can always hit us up at High Style Jiu Jitsu. You know, we also have personal accounts. I don't check mine anymore since the beginning of this thing. I just been kind of focusing on what I'm doing, you know. But you're welcome to reach out to us, and we would love to hear it if you have any ideas or if you wanted to participate in something in the future. There would definitely be like a 420 aspect to it. That's tried at this point. Like it doesn't even matter that there'd be a 420 aspect to it. They got tournaments with weed all the time. You know what I mean? On the internet.
And man, DJ
was the champion of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you want to pound of weight, didn't he?
Yeah,
I had never done anything like that.
Yo, we saw some. He put on a show, man, at that high rollers we went to.
Yeah. In Pittsburgh or
Pittsburgh, yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was like awesome because it was all grandiose. Like everything was like you imagined it in Vegas, but it was in Pittsburgh, and like
in a high school.
Even nobody was there. Like, you know, I mean, there was actually like no consumption on point. We're like a 420 club. We're like, yo. They're like, no. We're like, oh, okay.
And drove all the way back
only.
to DC. Like, no.
And just like anything, the rules made no sense. But like at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun. And, that was my only experience in Pittsburgh. I go back for that anytime.
I think Adecola's a high roller champion, actually.
Yeah, I seen him do it. I don't know if he won. I guess he did win.
I think
Adecola champ. Number one. What happens then? So you're like the head stoner in charge of jiu-jitsu. Like, what happens? We should have asked DJ when he had it. Like, what are your responsibilities as champion?
To get paid, I think, was the goal, to get paid. Because like the local competitions or qualifiers for the one in Cali, and that has like a cash prize. And I think it doesn't have a cash prize, or just a weed prize.
I mean, if you think about it, you can flip it into cash if you want.
Exactly. Who wants the money when you can get a ton of it?
I mean, you know, there's not a lot of competitions that are offering up prizes that aren't medals. Somebody today asked me, like, you know, these gold medals aren't medals? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, but it's Cali, though. Like, it don't even matter. They'd be like, oh, you want a pound of weed? That's cool. They'd be like, oh, I just tripped on this pound of weed. God damn it. Whose weed is this? Like, it's everywhere. Like, you're going to flip it for nothing out there. They'll be like, this is Cali.
It's true, yeah. It's the East Coast mentality. We're still new to the whole, like, marijuana being allowed thing, you know. Depends on what state, you know. It's like.
I love it, though. I could never live on the West Coast. What about you?
Nah, not California. It's too many taxes, man. It's too many taxes. Like, I kind of like the cold in some ways. Like, I miss it. I miss the culture. Like, East Coast is different, man. Like, East Coast people, we're built different. You go to the West Coast, it's like a totally different mentality. Even in the jiu-jitsu, it's a totally different mentality. And plus, California, like, it's drying up. Like, it's like, doesn't rain. Like, I like going to the woods in my backyard and like.
No, you're right. Me too.
I
like a rainy afternoon. I'm with it. Yeah. Well, at the very least, we can steal more of their ideas because we're like, our prudish nature on the East Coast won't allow us to do all the stuff they do over there. That's why it seems like a good idea to go over there. But I would say on par, like, they have the best Asian food out there. For that reason, I would go.
Mm-hmm.
They have some. I was in Long Beach.
Live out there. For that reason, you would go to live out there.
Yeah, just to get like Asian food and kick it. Like we're just talking like I would go for a while, just get Cambodian food in Long Beach and then like come back. But generally, no, I don't want to be all friendly and pretend like I'm cool with everybody because I'm not, because I'm from here. So I just like DC better.
Oh man.
So you guys, no underground fights, Nico. They said
no underground fights. They said underground fights.
So they
said they've been working on it.
Okay.
Working on it. Working on it. It's not.
You know what really stopped us from pulling the trigger? We were actually really close. We had a venue and everything, man. The problem is that this COVID thing happened, and really what I don't want to happen is I don't want to put my stamp on anything that ultimately is just a bad move. You know what I mean? Like, it just is a silly time to be jumping in and throwing a tournament. If you already have an established tournament and that's what you're trying to continue to do, hey man, good luck to you. I appreciate what you're doing, but like, oh yeah, you know, we'll do like a COVID tournament. It just seems weird. And then someone gets sick and know it, like it's over before it started. Plus, I don't really want to get into the business of doing tournaments. You know what I mean? That seems like a tough one.
But it's more of like the idea of like doing something and kind of show again, like making it just about what it's really about, which is just setting up a camera and having two people compete. You know, you don't need anything else. Maybe like one other person to ref or at least stand over and make sure, you know, for safety purposes. You don't need much else. Everything else is lights and this, that, and ads. And
we got the lights. That's what's tight. No, but then Jeff Glover has that thing where he just like puts cash on the mat and then people fight each other. I thought that was pretty cool because they like stream that. I saw a few matches. It was fun.
I have never seen that.
Nah, well, I mean, but it's cool. It's like, oh yeah, you like purple belt, $200, and then they fight for $200. That's cool. You know. Especially considering you probably trained all week, you know, like now you got to buy all that other stuff you bought, you know, back. So, but yeah, you know, but we've been having the underground fights, but to get into the social work stuff, that's another thing that kind of has to change. But last year we threw that free tournament, so we do have some experience in putting on a tournament. that was the only thing we did. It was a lot of fun. And that's what sort of prompted us to think that maybe we could do like underground super fights. Although we did want it to be more like, underground 420, just different vibe all around.
Gotcha. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about what you guys have been doing with the social work? Because like since you guys left the actual gym where you were training and started High Style, you've also been doing a lot of work in the community as well.
Yeah. Well, like I would say, Woodland, it really started very simple. Also, the idea was to have a free program for kids and adults. We were able to free up one day a week, and we were offered space within Woodland Tigers is a nonprofit. Shout out to Woodland Tigers. They do a lot of stuff in the community. They're really well known.
Football and boxing is their
boxing, dance, lots of youth programs. They've got a little studio, and they run out of the Malcolm X Community Center down in Southeast Alabama, and they were really nice to let us kind of use the space and store our mats there and roll them out every week. And since COVID, of course, it's really kind of put a kibosh on all the training aspect of it, and which is really kind of led us to a point where we're forced to have to now start to get really creative and figure out how we're going to evolve from where we are, as far as the social project goes, and what direction we want to take it. Because as far as training goes, that's not going to be something we'll be able to do where we can just open our doors and say, everyone's allowed to come here for free, no matter where you're coming from and where you've been and where you're going and who you've been around. So that's just irresponsible as it is, especially in a neighborhood and community that, is the last community you'd want to be contributing to, these scary numbers. That's, the last place we need to go is down to Southeast and start rolling around with people and spreading germs everywhere and taking it all over the place. So, so it really is a challenge that we need to face head on and see what. But again, we're all in this together. Like we don't know what's coming. So just like, unless you have the answer, but like, we don't know what's happening tomorrow, what's happening next month, what's going to be allowed, what's not going to be allowed. Not only what's going to be allowed or not allowed, but what's responsible and what the community and the people who we respect deem responsible, because it's not just about us. Like I think that it's important to listen to the people that we look up to and that we respect around us outside of the jiu-jitsu community as well, who will tell us, what's responsible in this time and, and what isn't, and we're not experts, we're not medical experts, so we don't claim to be. And I think, it's a challenge that we really need to, it's not a lost cause. You know what I mean? It's something that I think from this we'll really be able to build something long lasting. And with everything else going on around this country, I think, now is a perfect time to really start brainstorming. And again, this is another, I guess, time that, we can shout out any listeners, who, feel as though they like what we're saying and, would like to collaborate on any kind of effort like this. I'm pretty outspoken on how I feel, about politics in this country and things going on. And I think there's more work to be done for the community than ever now. So, I think we all, especially in the jiu-jitsu community, there's a lot of people who are sharing a lot of, spreading a lot of hate and showing their true colors in the jiu-jitsu community. And I think a lot of us have always kind of gone to tournaments and been around a lot of people who we kind of, and a lot of ideas and spaces where we might not feel so safe, but yet we kind of put up with it. And I think now is a time, we've come to a time in this country where, you know, it's not, I'm fed up with that, and I'm not really willing to compromise with that. And I think our efforts as far as social projects go need to really represent those views and make the difference that we feel this country needs, which is controversial, and it should be, you know, and that's the hard work that needs to be done. So I know that's a lot. That was a lot to unpack. So I've been all over the place, but you know.
No, I mean, it's true. I mean, having jujitsu in common with people isn't really enough anymore at this point. I mean, for a lot of people, you know, people are, whether they're outspoken on the internet, I don't really check the internet that much at all, you know, but it doesn't matter. People tell about people who are like, oh, there's crazy stuff going on. It just seems to me that, like, you know, everybody's cooped up and they got a lot of opinions and stuff, and like it's important to kind of think outside of, you know, you gotta be true to yourself more than anything else. And I think that it's okay to reflect that in like your jiu-jitsu nature too, you know, because people do it all the time. You know, like there's all sorts of stuff for law enforcement, you know, in jiu-jitsu. That's also another thing. If you do jiu-jitsu a lot, you're also around a lot of like fundraisers for like police and armed forces. These are all fine and dandy, but they're not honestly for me. And it's always mystified me why we do all these things. You know what I mean? To some degree, because there's so many things to be done. It just lacks imagination. It's not that they don't need to be done, but another one, like, come on, yo.
And again, just to me, if you ask me, like it's not all fine and dandy, you know, because I mean they've got enough money. Like look at the tanks and crazy gear they've got. You know, like, I don't think that law enforcement is who anybody should be raising money for, if you ask me. And those are the kind of views that, you know, if people don't agree with me, that's just gonna have to be how it is, because jiu-jitsu shouldn't be a space. The mats, you know, we shouldn't have to keep these feelings to ourselves, you know, because people are angry. I'm angry. Like I feel like as though, you know, this community is very patriotic to a degree that, you know, for me, I have never really felt as comfortable, you know, as some people in this country at times, and it's very hard for me, you know, to come to terms with that. And I've always had to my entire life, because I live here and I'm from here and I'm American, you know. But, you know, the jiu-jitsu community as a whole, I think basically if you I'll give you just an example, you know, it's very normal to see somebody at a tournament walk around with like a Blue Lives Matter rash guard or something. And, you know, he's going to walk around like he's just very comfortable, you know? And to me, somebody with a rash guard like that, there should be some consequences, you know? And if you're not okay with other people disagreeing with that and wearing a Black Lives Matter rash guard, for example, then, you know, we're really, you know, spreading the wrong message as a jiu-jitsu community that you know, we are not a safe space for everybody. You know, like if somebody with a Blue Lives Matter or a very patriotic and you know, red, white, and blue, you know, statement that they're making with their rash guard or this, that, something very nationalistic. But then when somebody at Fight to Win gets on a knee and puts a fist in the air, all of a sudden now politics need to be left out of jiu-jitsu, you know? So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in the jiu-jitsu community. And I just am at a point now where,
well, it's not politics,
you know,
patriotic. No, I know what you're saying.
I just have a lot of trouble right now aligning my views with a large portion of the jiu-jitsu community. So, you know, I think that that's where we're at now.
In a lot of ways, like even the structure of jiu-jitsu, whether or not you agree with it, sort of perpetuates a lot of these problems too. You know, and it's, you know, for us as like just interested individuals in jiu-jitsu, it's kind of good to at least make an attempt to step out of that. Now, whether or not it's like complete chaos in here is a matter of perspective, but you know, at the end of the day, like there are a lot of problems with just the structure of jiu-jitsu and kind of how it also relates to like social structure in general. I mean, I think that's sort of something we were talking about as well.
So you're saying that jiu-jitsu is like a microcosm for what we go through in society?
100%. And I think, you know, in society, that's what's going on. You know, people are speaking up, and for some reason that's kind of taken as an unjust form of rage, you know, like, you know, people who are protesting, people who are finally having a voice, you know, it's looked at as a threat to some certain hierarchy or certain establishment. And I think that exists in jiu-jitsu, you know, like when it comes to the Gracies, for example, like I'm not going to sit here and like never will I have a picture of the Gracies on the wall, like where I train, because I don't, it doesn't matter that they had something to do with the creation of jiu-jitsu, because again, whenever, like, this is a all white family. The Gracies are a fascist, white, historically speaking, white family, like elite family from Brazil. And whenever a white person says that they created something, chances are they didn't create it, you know? And that's what you know, they either discover it or they create it, you know? And our community, we've kind of been blind to this for so long, where we just kind of go along with it. Like, it's almost like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is just interchangeable. And that's just, it's bullshit, if you ask me. So, you know, I think Jiu-Jitsu is a perfect example of like what society, you know, it is a microcosm of the issues and the day-to-day life that society experiences.
What do you think would be necessary for jiu-jitsu to be a safe space for lack of a better term, others, people that it wasn't necessarily designed to serve?
Exactly. So that's where I think like our direction, most of our brainstorming as far as the social project goes, has been directed, you know, because I think, like we mentioned, law enforcement seems to be included in every jiu-jitsu space. So I think what we need to do is just make that extra effort to provide a space for people who feel as though a space where law enforcement isn't basically anyone who feels unsafe around law enforcement should feel safe in our space. And that's the kind of space that we want to have. And that means that it would be a space where people are comfortable expressing themselves, but need to understand that that means that they need to respect everyone. So insulting somebody or you know, being mean, like that's being mean, or insulting somebody or being a bully, that's not expressing yourself, you know? And that's, I think, the things that are missing in jiu-jitsu right now. You know, because somehow we like to say that we are anti-bully, this, that, but yet in so many ways, so many jiu-jitsu people have become the bully, you know? And and I remember, Tim, you were saying this in one of your earlier episodes at one point too, and it really got me thinking about this stuff too. So that's, I think, to go back to the social project, I think that's really the challenge that we're facing, is creating that space. And I think it's obviously going to have to come at a time when it is safe to do it physically. But then again, it's also about really creating, you know, a comfortable, open space for everybody, where everyone can come and feel as though they can express themselves, but also feel comfortable doing so, and not feel as though they are, you know, training with, you know, somebody who that on the street could possibly bully them, you know, and that's just what's going on right now. When you look around, look at my brother lives in Philadelphia, and he's very active with protests up there. And, you know, a lot of people pointed out that some of these Renzo Gracie guys from Fishtown, some of these white guys, were out in the streets with bats, you know, chasing protesters around and really bullying them. And it's
Renzo
just
Gracie gear on.
I think, yeah, well,
Really?
No, I mean, I think one of them did have a Renzo Gracie shirt on that was captured in one of the pictures, and it didn't take much to identify some of these people who were in the front lines of these white supremacist, I would say, I don't know, these just bands of people that were kind of running the streets and bullying people and acting as if they were
with bats and shit, like protesters.
Yeah, I kid you not. They're literally just going, they look at it as an opportunity to go out and freely bully people in the streets.
And trying techniques that they learn. Basically, a sparring session with people that don't know nothing. Damn.
So, it's like what Nico said, I think on her Instagram story a couple of days ago. It's like, look, if if you recently realized that you train with racists and stuff, like, hit us up, like, I think that should be like our slogan. It's like, if you're coming to the same realization that we are, that we kind of need to find our space in the jiu-jitsu community, because we've kind of never really been acknowledged. It's just been kind of dictated for us. Like, we've kind of entered this space and now we feel like, so we're in a position where jiu-jitsu, like we said, like, we do this for mental health. So it has nothing to do with the Gracies. It has nothing to do with, all this stuff. And this idea that people train under Isaac, train under us, who you get your black belt from, all this, these are these ideas of white supremacy that get passed out. Like, we learn so much lessons that we can apply in life from jiu-jitsu that are good, but yet we learn these bad, negative ones as well. We brainwash everyone to feel as though it's okay. It's that if somebody is a black belt, that they have the answers in life, like that they're automatically a good person, and this is the kind of culture that I don't want to be a part of, but I still love what we do, and what we do is jiu-jitsu. So, I think we need to kind of own it, and I think this is kind of just a call out to all the other people who are feeling the same way in the jiu-jitsu community and feel as though their eyes are opening as well. I think jiu-jitsu shouldn't be in this bubble that's protected from everything else that's going on in the world. Jiu-jitsu as a community needs to look into the mirror as well, just like everybody right now in this country, mainly one group of, mainly one population in this country, but, you get my point. And I think, like, we need to speak up and we need to kind of find our place here, because same way that we own, our identity as Americans, whatever you call it, whether it's the United States of America, that's part of your identity, whether it's this land that you're connected to, whatever it is, we are American, and we stand up for our identity here in this country. We need to do the same thing in our community as well, so that's the way I feel about it. And it is a tough challenge, I shoot, if you have any ideas, man, I'd love to hear them, because I think this is definitely a challenge that we need to tackle together.
Well, I think one thing that's really important if you want to create safe spaces is that first you need to start opening up those conversations, because I know a lot of people, don't have the luxury of being surrounded by a positive group of people. A lot of people don't have the luxury of being surrounded by, like-minded people. And I myself have gotten a lot of messages from people that, don't know how to approach their situations in their gym, that like feel kind of hesitant, to marginalize these people.
Just more about like their relation to their teammates and like people.
Maybe they yeah, like teammates with,
Scott's everywhere. But where they're not on the mats here with us though, for real.
Yeah, so I think just people being able to see more people speaking out really helps, because the silence was a major issue. There was nobody that was preaching the unity. And I know a lot of people that do amazing work, but those are people doing work. They're not on social media. They're not chasing clout. So they're not out there trying to make people hear it. but they are out there. They just don't have that same platform, and it's not getting to as many people. And so it's very easy to feel like nobody in the community is doing anything, you know? So I think it's very important to expose those people that are here, and to really just have more dialogues. People like you, because I know, like, Ben, you were all talking about trying to do any kind of like fundraising that you could do with COVID, or, you know, like protesting and all that. But it is really hard now with the coronavirus. So
I think the best thing to do now is to build fellowship with people with like minds. I started the Legacy Martial Arts Association, and our goal is to teach grappling, that includes jiu-jitsu, judo, wrestling, to men, women, and children in the African diaspora. You know, you guys know what that term means, you know, people of African descent throughout the world. It could be Brazil, it could be Senegal, it could be anywhere in the United States, because it was just such a helpful thing for me, because I think in order to protect your rights and fight for your rights, you need to know how to defend yourself physically. And I think that being able to defend yourself and spread martial arts is the most valuable lesson that you can teach someone. It changed my life. I always wonder what I would end up like if I didn't have jiu-jitsu, I didn't have martial arts. It's very liberating, and it makes you feel as though you feel liberated. You feel as though like you can fight back. And that's the problem that I see when we give clout, or we give a louder voice to the people that aren't for unity, you know, or we let them be too loud, or we don't, not necessarily fight back word for word, but I always say don't argue, strategize, organize, execute. You know, so I would say, you know, you can hit me up with my Legacy Association. You can help Nico. That's why, part of the reason why I started talking with Nico, because I was always a fan of the mindset and the goal of Favela Jiu-Jitsu. And that's why we started talking to Lionheart Initiative. Because I think what you guys have in mind, what Nico has in mind, and what I have in mind is that we want to empower the people that need the empowering, speak up for them. And it takes a lot of bravery, and considering the times that we're in now, we have to adjust. We can't build fellowship in the same ways that we used to. But like you see now with the Zoom calls, like you see with the Speakeasy Jiu Jitsu that we have now, like we said with the social media, we can use that to build fellowship and plan and adjust and be ahead of the game, because now the field is an even playing field in everything in life now, because all the privilege, all this of the power structure that we have to fight, it all burned down, or is burning down. It's a fair, even playing field. So now that everyone's at zero, people like us can fight people like that, the people you named. I can't name them because I'm not trying to be inflamed, but you know what I'm saying. So now's the time. So my thing is, if you wanted advice or you wanted to do something, is contact these people, hit up Nico, hit up Legacy, hit up me, hit up the people you know, and let's talk. And let's talk. But I say this, like, fuck the time wasting, arguing, screenshotting, bitching, moaning, complaining, trying to get people canceled. That shit don't fucking work. Yeah. Cancel culture and all this stuff, like us being mad, worked. The world be, I mean, like, social media would have been the judge, jury, and executioner. We can't do it that way, though. We got to do it a different way. We got to do it the Speakeasy way. We got to do it this way on these shows. So if you have people in mind, talk to them and be upfront and say what you want. Like, what now, like Nico always tells me, is like, if you want to build something like with the podcast, whatever, you got to know what you want. You got to figure out who has it, and you have to figure out how you can get something to them so they'll be willing to help you get what you want in exchange. But I say we exchange with people that give a fuck about us.
Yeah.
On a positive note, it seems to me it's easier to find more people that are like-minded, or in this transition, like people are kind of changing or being a little bit more open to certain things. I know that like I bonded with a lot of people that prior, you know, I didn't really see as eye to eye to, and on the flip side, people that I really like was supposed to, like now I kind of feel a little bit differently about them just because of the changing of times. Not just because of race relations, but just like how we experience this whole thing, like the things going on in the world, the virus, the shutdown, the financial stuff, it just affects people a multitude of ways. And, it's just been really an interesting time to like you said, like build fellowship with people and bond with them maybe over something different, you know what I mean? And find some understanding. I think that's kind of what underpins everything is everybody wants to understand each other better, I think. And I definitely don't think that we do right now, collectively. So, definitely something to work on.
Nico?
All right, that's like all I really had. Anything else that you guys want to shout out or promote before we wrap up?
I would say, just sticking on the same tip, like you shouted out Lionheart, you got Legacy. I'll give Lionheart and Legacy another shout out. We need to normalize shouting out minority Black businesses and look out for each other the same way, like we said, that skate community looks out for each other, that the jiu-jitsu community, like how we're supposed to look out for each other, like we need to look out for the people, like you said, that who are like-minded. And that means people who have experienced certain things that we can relate to, and we can communicate that. And I think any business out there who is on that same tip and the minority owned, Black owned, we're shouting you out, especially in the jiu-jitsu community. You can reach out to us. These are the groups that, like you said, we need to open these conversations with all of us. And Favela Jiu Jitsu, amazing. She's inspired us to do so much. And we got our man Sean over here, who's got his On Topic Out of Pocket podcast. Who's always talking about cool topics that relating to UFC, social stuff, video game stuff, jiu-jitsu, all of that.
Don't they have a Republican on their podcast? Don't they have like a Trump supporter?
Yeah, you gotta have one.
I don't think he.
There's a lot
flat out say that.
There was somebody that they were making fun of some dude. I was like, wait, do you like him? Why is he on your pod? I don't know, but it is a really cool dynamic. It's a really cool DC based podcast. What is it called? Out of pocket, off topic, out of pocket.
Yeah, On Topic, Out of Pocket.
I guess it 3 times fast.
They're better than me. Like, I banned all Trump supporters from the podcast, or at least all public ones. They're banned.
I do the same, man.
I don't know. He was up to some antics. Like, it seemed like it was gonna make for a good episode. I don't think they were telling him what they were doing. I don't know what they were doing. Like,
they double crossed them. They're like, yeah, we see eye to eye. We're allies, and they just hit him with
I guess if you want to follow us, we're High Style Jiu Jitsu on Facebook and Instagram, just like everybody. We have a website too, highstylejiujitsu.com. You can check those out. Obviously, like all the links to come train with us will not work right now, but that would be where like whatever we metamorphosize into, because I contend that we're in a chrysalis stage. Remember when you learned about the chrysalis?
Yeah, the butterfly.
It's the stage in between the butterfly and that other thing, the caterpillar. So we're gonna emerge out the other side, as what we are. But that would be how you would find us, High Style Jiu Jitsu, and we definitely are gonna be
also. Another thing, not only that, we have hightstylelifestyle.com, which is going to be an online store that's going to be coming. It's coming soon. We're just working on products. We're pretty
lighters, right?
Yeah, we've got some Zippo lighters. Oh yeah,
yeah,
Zippo lighter right here.
Yeah, show your merch, man.
Yeah. And your boy Lenny, big help. Shout out to him. Thanks to him. This is our little High Style Lifestyle.
Oh no!
I like it. I like it. I would definitely.
When you got a whole bunch of people standing around playing with big girls with Zippo lighters, they're about to burn the damn place down.
What did you say?
Nothing. No, I was just saying I would cop one as soon as the store opens. I'll get one.
Oh yeah. We'll keep you guys posted for sure.
All right, that's what's up. All right, Tim. Anything else?
You guys can find me at Tim Spriggs BJJ on Instagram, Facebook, or at timspriggsbjj.com. That's where you can get a personalized game plan from me. I mind map your best techniques and positions and submissions. I do match critiques, John Madden style. I watch your match and review it in real time, tell you what you did wrong, what you did right, what we can do next time. I also do seminars in privates. Well, not really because of the Rona, but if you are my super secret private lesson crew, you can definitely get privates from me. But you just got to hit me up at Tim Spriggs BJJ. And you can go to philosophies.com store for all your exclusive Mushmaster merch. That is the only place where you can get Mushmaster merchandise. So you get the bootleg shit. Me and Nico are going to know. And the next time we have a tournament, we're going to run up on you and get our money because you are rocking bootleg stuff. So don't mess with us. Nico?
That's the new jiu-jitsu. That's right. We come get what's ours.
Yeah, we shake them down. We don't do that bootleg stuff, man.
Nothing
We get money off of resale. Stock X, like I want to cut for sure.
All right. All right, that's what's
thanks
up.
for calling us up, guys. We appreciate it.
All right, that's what's up. I'll talk to you guys. No, I'll talk to Tim next week. I'll see you guys later. I'll actually probably stop by this weekend on a low-key note. But make sure to follow me. Make sure to follow me at No New Nico on Instagram, Favela Jiu Jitsu too, and of course everything on favelajujitsu.com.
Thank you guys.
BJJ Goons podcast. Peace out.
Yes.